Welcome to Commissioner's Corner, an opportunity for your Jackson County Board of Commissioners to communicate and discuss items affecting the citizens of Jackson County. During this segment, we go beyond the headlines so you can better understand the process behind the decisions of your Board of Commissioners. And now, Commissioner's Corner. Rick Dyer, Doug Breidenthal, and Colleen Roberts, working for you.
The legalization of marijuana went into effect on July 1st, and I don't think anybody really understood how much work that had to be done. How much time is this really taking you and the Board of Commissioners and staff to really prepare for everything that is legalization of marijuana?
It has taken a lot, and for one thing, the state is still making a lot of changes, and so some of it's hurry up and wait, and some of it we've been able to move forth with, like the dispensaries and our land use planning with those, and we were able to set our standards, what we wanted for our county, and those came with public hearings, and like I say, a lot of research and concern for the safety of our citizens.
Well, as far as staff time, I know right now it's a preliminary thing. We're waiting for the rulemaking process to come down, and so we actually have the framework that we can work within. But a lot of what we're doing right now is just monitoring that process, giving input where we can, listening to citizen concerns. All that goes into how we make the reasonable policies and the workable policies that can have these enterprises and these activities and the activities of our citizens in general mesh together, and hopefully make some reasonable policies that create some good neighbor situations.
What we did is we basically created buffer zones around communities so they couldn't be so close to a housing, but especially in the White City area, so far from a school or a park, so that we had some buffer for where children congregate or where there can be an impact to a child. We put some buffer zones around places like the DOM or the justice facilities where we have rehabilitation going on. So we need some distance so that we don't have some kind of people making it too easy for them to fall out of their rehab,
So land use, buffer zones, where we can and can't put dispensaries.
Taxation.
Taxation. Talk a little bit about taxation.
Taxation is a piece of it. State legislature under House Bill 3400 limited us to 3%. So that's going to have to be something that's going to be discussed, because that 3% cap that they did on there, their intent was to keep things out of the black market. What's interesting is under the recreational side, we have a seed-to-sale tracking system, which will basically keep the recreational marijuana out of the illegal market. So, but on the medical side, that illegal market is alive and well. I've received some numbers that have given me indication that up to 80% of all of the marijuana being grown under the medical or medicinal side is actually going into the illegal market. And that's the marijuana that's being driven over at $5,000 a pound over in the East Coast communities. So that's what we really have to find a regulation for, find some rules for, so that we can get it out of that illegal market, because that's where the real criminal element lies.
When you're talking to the citizens, I know they love to talk to their commissioners, so tell me a little bit about some of the things you're hearing.
It runs the gamut on what we're hearing. Anything from crazy people speeding up and down the roads, and maybe belligerent attitudes. I've heard that. A lot of people just, I think, concerned about the activity that's going on, whether it's marijuana related or not. There's more activity. People, like I say, grading out parts of their land, maybe not doing it in a real environmental responsible way. The noise, the lights, the smells, all those things have been concerns.
I think there's a lot of concern for it being here, but our county voted for it, and in counties that had voted 55% against it were able to opt out with the new OLCC rules, as I understand them, and we passed it by 53%, I believe. So we don't have the ability just to opt out.
There's a lot of issues, I think, in the rural community as it pertains to the grow that we're really going to have to address and find out really what people want and put some buffers, maybe some from property lines, setback regulations from where you can grow on a property line,
You're the liaison that has been running up and down I-5 to Salem and having these discussions with everybody. Tell us a little bit about what's the process that's going on in Salem, the parts that you're involved in, where we are maybe, and how long you think it's going to take before we really know all of the things that we need to know here in Jackson County.
I was appointed by the OLCC to the Rules Advisory Committee, which is the committee that works directly for the OLCC commissioners, right above the OLCC director. We'll be making final recommendation to the OLCC for what the administrative rules will be as we legalize marijuana within the state of Oregon. With that being said, that whole process will be looking at everything from packaging to sales, distribution, the whole process of how much it can be grown, how does it really work within the state, and all those rules will be developed at that level. So I'm the only elected commissioner within the state of Oregon that sits on this advisory committee. I was nominated to do this by my fellow commissioners from around the state through the Association of Oregon Counties. The board of directors basically said we'd like to see Doug working on this.
Well, and I know that because of our soil profile here in Jackson County, that any marijuana legislation really affects us more than anybody in the state. Maybe a little more in Josephine County probably is in that same boat. So tell us how important it is to have a voice at that table for Jackson County.
Well, I'll put it this way. You just described the sales or the grow of marijuana. And a lot of people said it to me like this: we are the golden triangle of the golden triangle of marijuana production in the Southern Oregon, Northern California. And the study out of Oregon State University has basically said that Jackson County will be producing 50% of the state's demand. That's 50% of the state's demand for marijuana. The grow will happen right here in Jackson County. Now, the way Measure 91 was structured and the way House Bill 3400 are structured, that has me very seriously concerned, because they are putting a lot of the revenue back to the local jurisdictions based on sales tax within that local jurisdiction, or dispensaries under Measure 91. We don't have a lot of consumers here in Southern Oregon. We have a few, but the major consumer market is in the major metropolitan area, Portland metropolitan area. But yet we're going to be providing 50% of the state's demand in the grow. So we're going to have a massive impact here on Jackson County. But the reality is all the sales revenue will be going to Portland and the major metropolitan areas. So we have to find a way in these rules to be able to redirect some of these dollars back into our hometown and Medford and Central Point and all these different smaller communities, because that's where the impact's going to be, and in Jackson County because that's where the grows are going to be. So we're going to have a lot of impact on our criminal system. We're going to have an impact on our land use system. We're going to have an impact on our residential system as we develop rules in our communities. Who can grow indoors, outdoors? What's your neighbor going to be like? I live on 5 acres because I want privacy, but yet I got 5 acres of marijuana growing next to me and I can't stand the smell anymore. So those are the types of things that we're going to be looking at the state level and saying, okay, how much local autonomy should there be for time, place, and manner at the county level? And how much should we put at the state level to better keep the counties out of trouble, so to speak?
But based on what you know, I think what everybody wants to know is when are the rules really coming down out of Salem for us to really start the program here in the local counties?
We really can't start developing local ordinances on recreational regulation until we know what the rules are coming out of the state. So with that being said, it's already being delayed than what we'd like to see in the quickness coming out. We've already had to cancel some meetings with the RAC, the Rules Advisory Committee, because the subcommittees couldn't get the information put together fast enough. There's some anticipation that we should have it done by the end of the year, but I'm guessing by the first quarter of next year, if we're lucky, the final recommendation and rules will come out from the state, and then give us 6 to 8 months after that from the county's perspective. So sometime, I would say mid to maybe fall of next year before we can have something coming out of the county that would give some good, meaningful regulation.
We hope you enjoyed this edition of Commissioner's Corner. If you have questions, please contact your Board of Commissioners at jacksoncounty.org.